So today was a difficult day for me. I made money early on, but I gave back a lot due to some paper cuts on the short side, which I'll show you in a little bit. But today, for both the large caps and small caps, everything was just higher and higher. And the large caps, I was mostly long bias, so I was okay. SAVA was actually the first trade I took on the day. It was a pretty big short trade for me. I had a small size pre-market on the scalp, and once this starts holding, I got out of it and actually gave back some profit from the pre-market short, which is fine because I was not involved in this blow-off move all the way to $9. And once the exhaustion candle put in, I went in short. I stayed very heavy pre-market. So I had some small average, about 8.30s, re-added some $8 and was all out of the pre-market size, went flush to 720s. And then on the after the open on this pops, I shorted into the 720s, 730s, got a nice move down to 670s and some lower. Reshorted a small bounce, but smaller size this time, just because the stock is easy to borrow. So you gotta have to be careful because these easy to borrow stocks, when everyone's short and the stock is just kept on being held up, this is where it's gonna squeeze to the upside like it did later. And that's why I'm covering into the flush. I never caught the bottom at 570s, and that's totally fine. I just want to make sure that I don't get involved in the short squeeze. And you can see I was out of my short over here. So I was not involved after this on the short side. I tried to scalp short when I came back during power hour, but the bids was really strong. You can see the volume was very, very robust for the buying side. So I don't want to fight it. Ideally, we see a gap up tomorrow for a reshort, but I'm not holding this kind of crap overnight. You can see what kind of had a slight gap down to 760. So overall, today wasn't the easiest day. Like both VXRT and SAVA, both of these were, the move was clean on the front side. You notice after 11 o'clock, it just kind of became more difficult. So that's why risk management is very important. In this market especially, you cannot be convicted on the short side because otherwise you can get a short squeeze like this one. Tesla, I was long. At the open, we sold off to previous day close. But at the time, market was holding up pretty strong. No news up on Tesla. So this just seems like a small weakness to me, and that's why I longed it. Very strong psychological previous day close level. And doing the push, and I relonged it. Once we're testing this pre-market high, we stayed really, really strong. And I was out most of it, 388, and then I was out all of it around 392s. And then once it broke out to this 397 area, I had a scalp short on Tesla. Whenever I'm short Tesla, it's almost always just scalps, just because I'm scared of jumping in front of the train, literally. You can see same thing here. I tried to short Tesla, but really quickly covered. And in hindsight, should have went long because the stock is now, we're up to, 420s, and we're probably gonna gap up tomorrow. But very decent play on Tesla. It was probably the only stock that wasn't a headache for me, so that's really good. Apple, I lost early on. Had a starter long, same idea as the Tesla trade, but it just kept on holding below 115, and that's why I stopped out. Small size on that stop out. The other stock that was good early on until kept on going back and reshort and took lots of paper cuts. The short was here around 63s. The key is that I didn't scale into it until 63 topped out, and I see there's a clear top, and then you scale in short once that top formed. I wasn't picking the tops on the way up. I was short and I was out most of it by 61.60s. And then I did try to re-hit it a couple more times, as you can see, and that's the paper cut. And I end up giving back some decent profit, which is fortunate, even though it's small size still. You can see I tried it here again, and this is where I actually tried to scalp long. You can see it didn't make it that far on that scalp long, probably made like 5 cents. Enough to pay for lunch maybe. I tried to short again near the end of the day, but nope, it was up too strong. It was holding up. The bids were there, and good thing I covered because we're not gapping up. So probably gonna be another good play tomorrow. The best play on the day was actually NKLA on the long side, and this one I lost early on small size, and that's totally totally fine. I expected my loss. I had a feeling that after 3 days of red days, today could be the reversal, and then we had a huge gap down to 27.2. So the idea was that once $30, 30.50s, 31 start holding, I want to add into a long position for a red to green breakout move. I stopped out early on once it broke down the low of the day early. I lost about $1 a share on starter size. No big deal. I didn't go in on the long until later on. Once it starts holding VWAP, I went in long, added once we keep on holding. Volume was increasing at the same time. We broke out to previous day close, sold some small, but re-added back once we break out above it. So it's a classic red to green move, and then just selling on the way up and re-adding some, and I was out all of it by $34. Sadly, I actually kept, in hindsight, now it's sad, but at the time I kept a few long for a swing, thinking that maybe we can retest even higher to $38 or $40 tomorrow. But after hours, we had some bad news that they're being investigated by SEC, so I don't want to hold anything like that overnight. It was sad to see my swing position kind of being cut like the day of, but that's just the name of the game. You just have to manage your risk. I'm all out NKLA, but it was a very nice trade on the long side today. Another headache on the day, still in the green, but it could have been a lot better, was VXRT. I'm sure biased on the stock just because this stock has been diluting like crazy since teens. And today's the first major day. We have major volume, major gap up, and this is a big short squeeze. Because I bet if I was somebody shorting it, I'm not gonna be the only one. I made money early on, very decent on the short trade, so very similar as MRNA. I waited for the blow up move to $7. Once I reject, I scaled in short. I was out all of it by 640s. I did try to re-hit it here, didn't work, cut it immediately, so took some paper cuts around this area and this area. This is very different from holding and adding on the way up. I don't do that. So I much rather take 2 or 3 paper cuts. You can see I did the same here. I tried it again, didn't work, cut it immediately, and actually had a very nice scaling around this area. I even tried this small scalp short. I was obviously very nervous. I mean, it's a piece of shit company. The real short was here on the backside after the blow off move to 850s, $9. Oh, we didn't see 9. But once this heavy rejection, you can see the volume on the 1 minute and 2 minute charts. Once this volume came in around this area, that's when I know, okay, this is a blow off move, and now I want to short the bounce. And that's why I tried scaling into. The stock held up very strong. You can see this bounce. I thought we're going to reject immediately. Once it started holding, I took out some. And in hindsight, this is where I should have added in back, but I'm not gonna lie. This stock was surprisingly strong, and that's why I didn't add anymore. I just had a small size on the backside short, a nice average about over here, 780s, and I covered into the flush to 740s. Once this starts holding, that's why I was like, okay, this is probably not done yet, and that's why I was out. So we'll see how this trades tomorrow, and right now we're kind of holding the $7 area after hours. What a day! So definitely seeing some movement, momentum picking up in both the small caps and actually mostly the small caps today. And in terms of the cheaper names like KODK and MYO and a couple others. So it's good to see that because as you remember, the last few days I just played mostly large cap. While that is very profitable still, there's some of my bread and butter strategies are based on small caps. So it's nice to see momentum coming back instead of everything just like selling off right at the open. KODK, this one, it's look at a daily chart, we're gapping up to daily resistance, but at the same time the stock has trapped so many shorts. There are many swing shorts on KODK. So today was very interesting. So we were saying pre-market as we were planning this that we hope for a hold up all the way up to 12, 13, 15, kind of like we saw on this day over here in July. While we did get a one hold up, that's about it. So I was a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, just the fact that we were able to hold back up just means that, hey, maybe the tide is shifting, maybe there's going to be more opportunities for the buyers to go long instead of everything just selling off pre-market. It's healthy to see this kind of thing. And it's also healthy to cut your losses if you were wrong early, which I did. You can see I started short pre-market size. So if I'm starting pre-market, it's always very small and something I'm very comfortable cutting if I'm wrong. So I started here, so I added some more here, and some more on this spike here around 950s. And once we start holding this level around 930s, 940s, that's when I actually thought there might be a long on the stock. And unfortunately, I longed it. I covered for a loss first, and I longed it, and I just stopped myself out because it did seem, like it was gonna go pre-market and then just sell off a little bit more. So at the end, before I even got into the trade after the open, I took a loss on the short side and then a long side. But that's okay because that gave me the fresh mind to kind of get into it short after we started holding up. I did have a starter going into the hold, or a $10 starter size. The idea is that we might hit 12 and 13s, but after the unholds, it just kind of dropped right away, and there was literally no way of getting filled. I tried to hit the bid, couldn't get filled on the short side. So I didn't get to start adding until down here, which is fine. There's a level right here around 10s and $10 rough area. So that's why I was using, you can see that's where all these arrows are to where it started scaling. And once we cannot break out above 1030s, that's the telltale sign that these are the tops. But at the same time, whoever sold shorted on the top here around even just 11s, man, that's amazing. I couldn't have gotten that. I just dropped way too fast and the bids were just dropping. It's just no way to hit the bid. So I did short on the way down. I missed the cover. It would have been a very nice cover. I did have to rescale and take in some small profits and some small losses on the when I'm early. I want to be able to scale and using this $10 range. And that's why I got a very nice size. Once this $10 psychological level fails and we're holding below VWAP, that's where I had more patience to keep on holding it. I did have some more ads, fortunately, around here 960s or 950s, but I'm always recycling around the core size short. So I'm recycling here and adding even more. So I want to build a very nice size around. I ended up having a 980s average on the short side. I'm covering into the flush. So when it finally broke down around 920s, that's where we got a nice sell off down to 880s. And then bounces after that was just really weak. So I was just reshorting some and covering on the way down. And I had a reshort here, covered some just in case we're gonna retest VWAP. Once I reject, I rehit it. Just tried doing that many times on smaller size. On the back side, again, liquidity is drying out. I mean, it's still decent, like 1,500,000 shares. But still, I wouldn't use the same kind of size as I did up here, right? Just recycling some small shares on the short side, and I was out most of it by the end of the day here. So KODK was a very good play today. I did try a long. The long just didn't work for me, and I got stopped on the long. It would have been nice to be able to make money on the long side as well, but the long on KODK was a loss for me. The second trade was a large cap DraftKings. So the stock is holding above pre-market gap around this 49.40s and $50 range. That's also all-time high. So when stocks like these, especially when they had the catalyst news about an exclusive partnership with what sports team was this? I just know it's from New York. Sorry, I don't remember what team exactly. Was it Yankees? I'm sorry, I'm gonna offend some viewers probably. I don't remember what team it was. I just remember it was a very, very big deal. That's why I was long biased on the stock. And the strategy is very simple, right? I'm just longing the dips along the strong uptrend. So some re-added some, sold around the core, but I did start re-adding again over here 51.70s and sold into a push on 52.60s and got stopped out on the rest. And this kind of sell-off was kind of bearish, to be honest, so I didn't want to take part in that. And in the afternoon, I just kind of left it alone because I was busy nursing my positions on KODK and also the other stock, MYO. This is the other small cap that also gapped up all the way to $7 pre-market, or actually after hours. I was not part of that after hours action, but at the open today, it just kind of started fading. This is a stock that I traded back in July or June, and I remember on this day that it's a headache stock. Like, this is a stock that pops and drops in a channel. So having that knowledge and having that past experience, that gives me the preparation to be able to scale. So if I want to be short 1,000 shares, I'm scaling with 100 shares each. Like, I'm never too big, too fast, and I'm scaling with the levels, right? Once these clear resistance levels set in, that's why I'm scaling. I'm not going in, let's say, if my full size 1,000, I'm not going to go in 1,000 right here. I mean, if I cover into the flush. But on the way up, I'm not going to hold 1,000 shares full size being squeezed to the upside. That's the theory, and that's the concept behind scaling in out of your trades. That's not the same as adding onto a loser. When it's small size, I can always cut it if I'm wrong too. So I did have a nice short early on covered. Once a reshort, I got hit on the reshort. I covered here for a loss. Cover these two arrows. Cover the reshort for a loss. But once it starts spiking to 550s, 560s, that's why I started scaling in short again. Cover on the sell-offs. And once we're holding below VWAP, that's why I started rescaling in shorts again. And here we short and I stop out some just in case we're reclaiming VWAP. But once we stayed really weak, I had a kind of like small size for the rest of the day, looking for a potential fade down to 450s. We didn't quite get that. The low was 480s and I was out on the short today, MYO. The other two large cap stocks, NKLA. So this one, there's some news pre-market about company defending the stock. Obviously, the CEO coming out with some statement against the short report from Hindenburg. And also the stock, if you look at a daily chart, we sold off huge from $50 down to $30. The stock was on SSR, so it's natural for the stock to start popping. So I, waited for the pop to resistance levels around 34.50s, 35s, and I started short. These are actually just scalp plays for me, but they usually work out immediately, so that's why I like to trade in these. Same thing as NNOX. This is another stock that was attacked by another short fund, Citron, this time around. We sold off huge yesterday. I did trade this yesterday, but today I was not involved until the stock squeezed to the upside, and I went in short around 41s, had a nice scalp, stopped out break even, reshorted on the way up around 42.70s average, and I covered. These are sort of just like scalp plays for me, but even with when they're scalps, they're still like $1.50 scalps, so that's why it works pretty well for me. So it's nice to see that we're seeing some more action in terms of the small caps and bigger range and more surprises. So you don't want, if you're a short bias, you don't want to be too complacent at the same time. It's good to have these market cycles where the buyers are making money and then the sellers are making money. So you want a balanced market. That's where the traders of all types of strategy can kind of make their money. So the first play of the day was KODK. And to be honest, this one, I actually didn't think it was gonna do this kind of squeeze move, and which is very impressive. I mean, this stock is probably piled in with tons of short from the day before. And I mean, on the daily chart, right, you can see this stock has been downtrending. I bet there's a lot of swing shorts. So actually, yesterday, last night, Wednesday, I actually swung some shorts overnight, and I did get squeezed on the other account, on my swing account. So I took a loss on the short side overnight. But with this account, day trading account, I started shorting some pre-market. I did thought that we were gonna keep on tanking below yesterday's close and then going lower. And that's why I was short buyers early on, until we reclaimed this 870s with a lot of volume. So I was short over here, short here, I had a re-short here. That one I took a loss on. And after I covered for the loss, actually flipped long. Over here, unfortunately, the breakout in the morning was extremely unconvincing. You can see I longed here after the cover, longed, added some more, sold into the push, and after that quick rejection, you can see this wick over here. I got stopped out just because as a stock that could have just been a short squeeze and we tanked below previous day close and going lower. But after I got stopped out, it just kept on holding this area, right? You can see all these dips getting bought back up, and that's when we had another squeeze move to 935s. For this one, I was a lot smaller just because I was already long the stock early on, and I actually tried to scalp for a little bit here, over here, and I tried to flip shorts here, thinking that was a really quick rejection, and tried shorting here, shorting, and I covered the short. So overall, the short trade today on KODK was a loss, but I'm not gonna keep on adding to the top. I actually made money on the stock on the long side. So, and the stock is gapping up. I did think about a scalp short at the end of the day and then buy it back for a swing overnight, but at the end I didn't do it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I hope we get a nice gap up to maybe $13-15 and maybe a parabolic move to 20s or above like we did over here. I was crazy. So that was the first stock I played. The other one was a little bit disappointing because I never got any sizing on the short side as well as the long side. I was short early on. To be honest, was a little bit distracted at the same time, so that's why I didn't stop out. But it was also only starter size. I was prepared for the add to a parabolic move, which did happen over here. But unfortunately, I was distracted and I did not short on the top. So the short overall didn't make money on it, but actually lost on the long side. After the sell off, I'm done with the short side. It sold off and on the bounce over here to VWAP. That's what I was thinking, that they could be trying to reclaim this 870s area and trying to squeeze it back up to highs again. So I actually went long, and you can see I lost on the long side, on starter size. So that's a beauty of scaling in. Yeah, it's a loss, it sucks, but it's a lot smaller share sizes. And then after that, it was a pretty slow day, and then until CRDF came up. So this is formerly TROV, so they just changed the ticker name. So it made everyone believe that it's a brand new company, but no, it's not. It's the same piece of turd company. The stock was relatively low volume until much later on of news about one of their cancer drugs or whatever, the same kind of bullshit. I was not involved over here. And then I came back after lunchtime. I see the stock squeezing from 970 to like $11. That was a crazy move. If you look at VXRT, the two charts look very similar. When I came back, it was already down here. I see it very weak. A lot of selling on the tape. All the bids are just getting taken out, and everyone's trying to jump the ship because that was a short squeeze, and I bet they're selling into the moves too. So that's why I was not afraid to short this weakness here. $9. Once that breaks down, we have a very nice flush down to 840s. I reshorted on the pops here, and then over here it's where it started to reclaim, and I was thinking, okay, I have to either cut if it reclaims $9, or if this rejects like it did here, I'm gonna add into it. So that's what I did. You can see we had a slight touch to 906, and we immediately rejected, and we got back to the same kind of selling tape again. So that was really weak, and I scaled in short and had a nice cover into the close. I didn't think we're gonna break $8 and go to 780s, but I was all out by 810s, 830s. So I'm definitely very excited for tomorrow on KODK, and we'll see what the market brings. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the bad jokes. If you want to see more day trading content, make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more. If you'd like to trade with me daily and get my free weekend watch list and trading journal, make sure to check out the links below for more resources. Stay green, stay positive, and I'll see you guys next time.